Welcome to my new series on real-life ancient horror tales that should be made into horror movies. I've got some evil kings and queens who historically existed in ancient times that did some horrific and incredible deeds that should be on camera for the horror fan. Let's get into it. I don't know why Hollywood refuses to do something so out-of-the-box extraordinary like reading a book, but the world is tired of sequels and prequels and remakes. I'm not saying that when one of these categories aren't done well, that it can't give us a whole new perspective from the original and bring the new modern version into its own world. But let's consider this. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. In other words, stop it, please. I'll be going over some ancient horror figures that Hollywood needs to take a serious look at and do us all a favor and give us something new. I don't know how many countless times my mom has said to me that all these great stories in the Bible are destined to be made. All of these stories on the History Channel are only giving us 2% of the world's conquering backstories of ancient kings and queens. A lot of them did unspeakable acts to gain this power. If this ain't a start to a new horror movie franchise, then I don't know what is. Athaliah, whose name means afflicted by God, was queen of Judah from 841 to 835 BC and the only female monarch to sit on David's throne in biblical history. Athaliah was the daughter of King Ahab and Queen Jezebel of Israel, and she married Jehoram, the eldest son of Judah's king, Jehoshaphat. Her time as queen is nestled amid centuries of evil monarchs who reigned over Judah and Israel. An avid Baal zealot, Athaliah rivaled the wickedness of the kings who came before her and after her. Her story can be found in 2 Kings 11 and 2 Chronicles 22 through 23 in the Holy Bible. Athaliah's husband, Jehoram, was king of Judah until his death in 841 BC. Unlike his father, Jehoram was a wicked king. Athaliah's son, Ahaziah, at the age of 22, ascended to the throne and proved himself just as evil as his father. 2 Kings 8:18 through 27. Athaliah counseled her son in his devilish schemes. When Athaliah received word that her son was dead, she seized the opportunity to usurp the throne by murdering Ahaziah's sons, her own grandsons, thus eradicating the entire royal family so she could take the throne. Unbeknownst to Athaliah, a single grandchild escaped the massacre. As Queen Athaliah used her influence to further establish Baal worship in Judah, installing priests and building altars for her idol in the very temple of the Lord. That's in 2 Kings 11:18 and 2 Chronicles 24:7. In this way, Athaliah followed the footsteps of her mother, Jezebel. She became a queen at all costs. Baal was the fertility god of the Canaanites, whom the ancient Israelites often fell into worshiping in the Tanakh or the Old Testament. Ritualistic Baal worship looked a little like this. Adults would gather around the altar of Baal. Infants would then be burned alive as a sacrificial offering to the deity. Matt Barber states for a WorldNet Daily article. Amid horrific screams and the stench of charred human flesh, congregants, men and women alike, would engage in bisexual orgies. Baal worship also invoked pantheism, elevating nature beyond its place. Orgies, for instance, were intended to produce economic prosperity by prompting Baal to bring rain for the fertility of Mother Earth. This was the Temple of Baal, one of the best preserved and largest ruins of Palmyra. The temple was built within 4 walls of about 200 meters each and was completed in 32 AD. Along with its impressive size, the importance of the religious building was underlined by its location in the center of ancient Palmyra, at the eastern entrance of the Colonnade Road. Such a thing had never been done before. Women might influence politics, but they had never ruled in their own right. While Queen Athaliah was wiping out her royal line, her sister Jehoshaphat hid one of Ahaziah's children named Joash and hid him in Solomon's temple under the watch of her husband Jehoiada, who made sure that he would remain safe until the right time. Jehoiada was a godly man and the head priest in the temple. While Athaliah ruled the kingdom, he plotted her assassination in order to place the young King Joash back on the throne. Athaliah manages to remain sole monarch for 6 years. And as a worshiper of Baal, we also get the correlation of Beelzebub, the fly lord himself, the devil. Hebrew interpretation of the Lord of the Flies is a pile of dung, and his followers are vermin. Yeah, that about sums it up. In the 6th year of Athaliah's rule, Jehoiada carried out his plot. He took the young king to the temple and declared him king before the people. Athaliah heard the commotion and tried to figure out what was going on. When she went down to observe what was happening, Jehoiada ordered his soldiers to assassinate her and anyone who followed her. Once Athaliah was slain, young Joash was finally free to rule the kingdom. 2 Kings 11:13-16. Verse 13. And when Athaliah heard the noise of the guard and of the people, she came to the people into the temple of the Lord. Verse 14. And when she looked, behold, the king stood by the pillar as the manner was, and the princes and the trumpeters by the king, and all the people of the land rejoiced and blew with trumpets. And Athaliah rent her clothes and cried, treason, treason. Verse 15. But Jehoiada the priest commanded the captains of the hundreds, the officers of the host, and said unto them, have her forth without the ranges, and him that followeth her kill with the sword. For the priest had said, let her not be slain in the house of the Lord. Verse 16. And they laid hands on her, and she went by the way by the which the horses came into the king's house, and there was she slain. In 1691, French tragedian Jean Racine wrote a play about the biblical queen entitled Athaliah. The German composer Felix Mendelssohn, among others, wrote incidental music, his opus 74, to Racine's play, first performed in Berlin in 1845. One of the most frequently heard excerpts from the Mendelssohn music is titled War March of the Priests. In 1733, the musician and composer Handel composed an oratorio based on her life called Athaliah, calling her a Baalite, queen of Judah, daughter of Jezebel. Athaliah is one of the most wicked queens described in the Bible, and I don't know why none of the film studios had made a movie about her. She had 6 years to rule of demonic worship, sacrificing, and orgies. These are the pillars of getting people into the seats of the theater. Imagine the blood and gore and screams of these Baal worshipers. And don't forget the children. Lord, have mercy on the children. Innocence lost because of the actions of a wicked queen. You can see the similarities of Athaliah's spirit in HBO's popular hit show in Game of Thrones, Queen at All Costs scenario. You can also see her spirit in other horror films like Snow White and the Huntsman with Charlize Theron and Countess Elizabeth Bathory, the vampire queen who bathed in blood. Thanks for watching and learning about real-life ancient horror stories. Tune in next time, and hopefully Hollywood can turn these into epic horror movies in our lifetime.